Lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you very much. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Clower?
Here.
Councilmember Gomez?
Here.
Mayor Velasquez?
Here.
Councilmember Friend?
Present.
Councilmember Luna?
Present.
City Manager Rivera?
Present.
City Attorney Sullivan?
Present.
Chief of Police Westrick?
Here.
And the record will show City Clerk Graves is absent.
Thank you very much. Verification of agenda posting.
The agenda for the regular City Council meeting of the City of Hollister of September 6th, 2016 was posted on the bulletin board at City Hall on August 31st, 2016 at 2:10 p.m. per Government Code Section 54954.2.
Thank you. City Attorney, anything you want to report out in the closed session?
There was no reportable action, although I did give updates on 3 litigation matters and received instructions from the council.
Thank you very much. Tonight we have a presentation. CHP Commissioner, Chief, are you leading that? Oh. CHP is.
Good evening, Mayor Velasquez, council members and staff, and citizens of the City of Hollister. The California Law Enforcement Challenge, or the CLEC, started in 2003 as a competition between similar-sized law enforcement agencies looking for best traffic practices and safety programs within the state of California. The CLEC is modeled after the International Association of Chiefs of Police National Law Enforcement Challenge and focuses on speeding, impaired driving, and occupant restraint. In addition to showcasing an agency's traffic safety efforts, this challenge provides law enforcement agencies with an opportunity to make a difference in the communities they serve, learn from one another, and establish future goals in traffic safety, enforcement, and education. The Hollister Police Department has a successful history of competing in the challenge, and in 2011 received a third-place award, in 2012 a second-place award, in 2013 a third-place award with a special award for motorcycle safety, and also in 2014 and 2015 each a third-place award with the special award for motorcycle safety. We're glad to present the Hollister Police Department with the 2016 California Law Enforcement Challenge first place award for municipal law enforcement agencies with 1 to 50 sworn officers.
Yeah.
And each year, as part of this challenge, one agency submission is chosen as having the best overall traffic safety program. The Hollister Police Department was chosen as that agency. It is now my honor to present the Hollister Police Department the 2016 California Law Enforcement Challenge Commissioner's Award for their outstanding traffic safety.
All right.
And to the citizens, you should be very proud of your law enforcement agency.
Thank you very much.
First, I'd like to call down Lieutenant Olson and volunteer Jack Kochi. It's important that these 2 men recognized tonight, not only for their efforts in putting together these programs that have been so successful these last several years, but also inspiring the department as a whole, each and every officer that was involved in these programs over the last year to do this. And a great amount of the credit goes to the officers out there doing this every single day that are committed to making Hollister safer. But also as the architects, both Jack and Lieutenant Olson deserve much of the credit as well. Can you guys stand up here, please? Come on up here. Oh, they're already here, okay. All right, so Eric, go ahead and take that back. Jack, go ahead and take that back. You guys want to say anything at this time?
Everyone knows I'm not much for words. I just want to say this is just another example about how hard our officers work, short-staffed and everything, for keeping this community safe. So thank you to them.
Thank you.
One last thing. Before the CHP goes, I want to acknowledge our partnership with this outstanding organization, and I want to thank you, Sean, for coming down here. I want to offer you our challenge coin for this year. We appreciate that. Thank you much for your collaboration. Thank you.
Thank you very much, everyone.
Mr. Mayor,
I'd like to go ahead.
I'd like to thank and congratulate the Hollister Police Department and Commissioner Farrell for this presentation and the officers here from CHP. And I also want to say that my son proudly wears your uniform. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. We're going to move forward now with the consent agenda. Are there any items that the council would like to pull?
Item 5.
Item A5.
And A9.
A9. Any others? Are there any from the public?
No, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Motion to approve as amended.
Second.
Motion second, all in favor?
Aye.
All right. Move forward to item A5.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just really quick, regarding the consulting contract with Ford Aviation, I just want to make sure that it's not just city staff, but I know that there's been other stakeholders involved in regards to the economic development portion, and I know the CAL FIRE's base is a big part of that, Mike. So I was just hoping to see if we could at least have some kind of commitment to make sure that we're working with our business community as well, specifically the business council. I think it would be those folks on there have been key. So I just want to make sure that as we move forward with this contract, I'm totally supportive of this. I think it's great. Just making sure that we keep them in the loop as we move forward.
Absolutely.
That's my sole request.
No problem.
Excellent. Thank you.
I had some questions, Mike, on we're hiring a consultant, and the word is because they know legislatures, and in November half those legislatures could be gone. So when are we going to pay them? After November? Are we going to talk to them now? Because it's going to be 3 years before they make a decision, so those people are not going to be there. So,
Well, hopefully the decision's made a lot quicker than that, because the lease was signed 8 years ago for the property. They effectively are holding the town hostage. The firefighting efforts for the Sobranas fires was effectively cut in half because this project was not done. And the first stop on this tour is going to be to the representatives of the Pacific Grove area and the Pebble Beach area to have a conversation with them about this issue. This effort is to get CAL FIRE to do what they promised to do almost 18 years ago is when we started talking about this.
I understand that, Mike, but now you're asking us to hire these people. Shouldn't the people in Monterey be hiring these people? I mean,
well, the thought is that with their assistant, I can get into the right offices in Sacramento and tell the story to the decision makers. We've talked to our local representatives, the three of them, and we haven't really gotten anywhere over the years. Our CAL FIRE air attack base covers 96 representatives' coverage areas. Those are the 96 people I want to tell the story to, because I don't think they know it yet.
I think they should be told. I think they should be told who those representatives are that are not helping us do that, because they're part of the reason why that fire grew to where it is.
That is correct. We were accepting the large aircraft for the first 2 days of the fire, but the taxiway has failed because it wasn't built to handle the aircraft, and we had to turn them away. As a result, it cut the response time of that one plane in half. It's a 1 hour turnaround to Paso Robles. It was a 30-minute turnaround to Hollister, and that one plane carried 3 planes worth of material.
Okay.
Motion to approve Resolution 2016-129.
Is there a second? Motion is second, all in favor? Aye. All right, motion carries.
1 no.
1 no. A9.
Excuse me, the no is from Councilmember
Friend voted
Friend.
no.
Thank you.
Good evening. So this item is Resolution 2016-135, and what it will be doing is approving a task order with Wallace Group out of San Luis Obispo that will basically allow us to do a sanitary sewer collection system master plan update. Their proposal is for a cost of not to exceed $58,800. The reason why we're calling it approval of a task order is because we have an existing professional service agreement that was approved in August of 2014. This professional service agreement established Wallace Group as an extension of staff for staff augmentation. They've been performing since then a number of plan checks that have allowed the developers to get in, get approved, and get building as quickly as they possibly can. The project or the professional services agreement also allows the city to utilize them for other projects. So other smaller engineering projects that we've been able to utilize them for different studies related to sewer or storm drain, related to our industrial plant or our sewer collection system. So it's really worked out very well for the city to be able to utilize them as an extension of staff. The sanitary sewer collection system is in need of an update. Because of all the development that we've had and because the sanitary sewer service area was approved after the master plan was approved, which necessitated that every time someone wants to come into the city limits, they needed to do still need to do a sanitary sewer and storm drain study to make sure that whatever impacts that development is going to cause onto our system, that they will be responsible to mitigate those impacts, whether it's paying us a fee, paying us the dollar amount to mitigate those impacts, or actually going out and fixing the problem. And so what this will do is it will eliminate developers from having to go out and do independent studies, and we have Wallace do those studies for us, because what this project will do is it will incorporate the entire sewer service area. So it has a potential of saving a bit of time for developers as they come in and want to get the job, get a project done. It also is showing that we're doing what's necessary to ensure that the city infrastructure, sewer infrastructure, is not going to be impacted with their developments. The study areas will use worst case scenarios. So any project that comes in, if they're going to impact a sewer line, that they'll have to upsize it, go a different way, do something. A couple of the projects that have been studied have to upgrade our lift stations on their dime, not ours. So it's needed. It's something that that's appropriate. It's something that Wallace Group, who did our sanitary sewer master plan, have been doing all these studies, are very well qualified to do this study for us. So if there's any questions?
We don't have anybody on staff that could review this?
No. I mean, it's going to require a lot of time. It's going to require a significant amount of commitment and a significant amount of resources that the city just doesn't have.
Councilmember Clower.
How much was the original sanitary sewer collection system master plan?
I believe it's around $200,000.
Okay. And that was in 2008?
2010.
2010? Just, it doesn't seem like that much has changed since 2010. I mean, yes, there's building going on, but it's not like surprise building. A lot of the building that's happened has been in the works for 15 years. It would have been figured into that plan, I would imagine.
Well, the biggest change is that we were only able to do the area that the city was able to service. After that plan was approved, then the sanitary sewer collection, the sewer service area expanded greatly through a LAFCO process, and that's what and basically that's telling everybody that's within our sphere of influence or our planning area and some other adjacent areas that as they develop, they will be tying into the sewer system. It's a way to protect our groundwater. It's a way to make sure that we're not installing a whole another sewer treatment system. It's a way to eliminate unnecessary septic tanks. So it is really a method to make sure that as these new developments come in, one, they won't have to do the study, which would be anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 per study. So, and there's a lot of area that hasn't been studied. So we're actually going to, a lot of area added to the plan for a good value.
I might be mistaken, but Councilmember Luna might be able to help me out. I thought that the Hollister Urban Area Water and Wastewater Master Plan was 2008. So that I'm just not seeing any new ideas that would be going into this. And
well, I don't understand what's wrong with having the developer pay that money.
Councilmember Friend, let's let Councilmember Clower finish his statement. Is that your question was to Councilmember Luna?
Well, I thought that the Urban Area Water Master Plan was 2008, and if this came in 2010, then all of the ideas that were part of that would have been in this. And I mean, it sounds to me like we're trying to make it an easier process for anybody who comes through the system, which is fine, but they should probably pay us back for whatever we're doing.
And that's exactly what this document will do. Ultimately, and you are absolutely right. So just real quick, and I hope nobody here holds me to actual years. The Hollister Urban Area Water and Wastewater Management Plan was done in 2008. The plan, or the master plan that David is speaking about, collection, really just focused inside the city of Hollister's city limits. Now you'll know that there's a ton of pressure on the city to serve those areas outside of the city limits. What we don't want to have happen, which we sense the pressure, is that capacity that's in our current existing system going to county projects and properties that are within the city of Hollister being somehow squeezed out or having to or required to upsize our collection system on their dime. So what we want to do is that's what this plan is going to do. It's going to take a look at the folks or the properties that are being developed outside of the city's jurisdiction. We will come back to you with, there is a collection system impact fee. We will have that collection system impact fee addressed so that properties that are expanding outside of the city's limits, or if there is an impact on, to our collection system, say on Hillcrest or Sunny Slope or one of those, that the proper development pays for the mitigation of the impact on our system, and not necessarily, I don't want to throw Santana Row under the bus, but it's just an easy example.
Right.
Santana Row is 1,000 units. We plan to have our collection system hold 1,000 units with west of Fairview and some of the surrounding properties on our side of Fairview. But if those properties don't develop and Santana Ranch takes that entire capacity, then all of a sudden the mitigation goes onto those properties that have been in the city of Hollister for 20 years. That's probably not the most adequate way to handle our collection system. So we're trying to make sure that we're ahead of the game the whole way and making sure that those folks who are taking capacity in our lines pay for their share of the line initially and not put it off to the future. Did that kind of make sense? So I agree with you. It's not necessarily a new concept, but what is a new concept is making sure that our collection system can handle everything in the Hollister urban area
So the 2010 study didn't look outside the city
No,
limits? Okay.
that is correct, right, David?
That's correct.
Okay, yeah, it did not.
Okay, so I'm trying to understand why in the world are we trying to help developers build outside the city limits when we already know we're having problems? So I'm not in favor of helping developers move along faster, especially outside of the city limits. And I'm not in favor of helping them at a lower price for this. I've stated this many of times already. We need to step back, figure out what we're doing within our city before we're allowing these developments going on all around our city. It's creating a problem, as we all know, and it's going to continue, and we're adding to it by these types of things. LAFCO's made it clear. Development should be within the city limits, not outside of it. And here we go. We keep approving services outside of the city limit, and then we make an adjustment here and there. We shouldn't be doing this.
The problem with that, Mr. Mayor, is in 2002, the city, the county, the water districts agreed that service of providing effluent was going to be done by the city of Hollister in this massive geographical area. I understand that there's other stresses and pressures that development have on the community as far as infrastructure is concerned, but this community flipped the bill on a $100 million treatment plant to serve this entire area. And in order for us to make sure that we continue doing what we do and make sure that the ratepayers of this community don't bear that burden, we need more customers. And as David mentioned, is that we don't need batch plants, we don't need septic systems, we are protecting our resource, our groundwater basin. That's the service that we want to make sure. And again, I understand we argue about this or discuss this a lot. It's one service that we provide that is that is imperable that we can continue to do that because that's what we've planned for the last 16 years. And to back off on that, I know that traffic is an issue, water might be an issue. There's other things that are issues. Serving effluent or treatment plant or serving our system, serving those properties outside of the city limits and treating their wastewater is not one of those systems that is struggling.
But it creates the issue, and this is the point I've made many times. We need to stop what we're doing. Councilmember Clower?
Do we have because it sounds like this study is for sewer customers that are not going to be citizens of Hollister. That's what it sounds like. Do we have a mechanism to get paid back for this study? Yeah. Otherwise, I don't see why.
Yeah, this study is being paid for out of the collection fee system, and all those properties that are outside of the system pay our impact fees.
Okay,
so they don't get a free
ride. This is coming out of a...
Yes, it's coming out of the collection system impact fee. Yeah, because it's an appropriate use of those fees to study for future growth.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that right?
Yes.
I don't like to say things and then be wrong.
All right, City Clerk, do we have speaker cards?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Marty Richmond?
Yeah, that's what I want to do.
Good evening, Marty Richmond from Hollister. I don't see anything wrong with at least finding out what the numbers would be and how that would impact ours. I certainly would not give it any priority. In other words, one of the things, although we said we would service outside the city, I believe we ought to start setting up some priority for service. And that's looking down the road, not what's in the bin today. We have to look down the road and say, we think in 20 years or 15 years, this is what the city's going to need for its service. And that has to be put aside, and that has to be saved, because otherwise what's going to happen if you give it to somebody developing outside the city limits, when somebody wants to build something infill, which we're supposed to be giving infill priority. That's what the general plan says. You will give infill priority. Somebody comes up with infill and we say, sorry, we don't have anything to service you. So I think I don't personally see any problem with doing the study, provided it's paid for out of impact fees, as came up earlier. However, I think it brings up a good point, which is this one and other items where we have to prioritize who we're going to service. We may have agreed to service people outside the city, and I'm okay with that, if you can do it without damaging the city's ability to do the stuff it has on the planning block. I can't see just saying, here, you take it because you were here first, and then you wake up one morning and you say, whoops, we can't do our internal stuff because we've given all the capacity away. So that's my opinion. I think that's an area where we got to do a lot of work that's related directly to this, and I'm not sure we even have a policy on that, or we have a 20-year projection on how we're going to do this critical infrastructure. Not just this, but all the critical infrastructure. We should be making sure we get the fair share of what we need to build ours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Is that the...
No, Mr. Mayor, no more.
No more? Are there any other questions from council? Is there a motion?
So move.
Is there a second? Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
1 no.
2 noes. Councilmember Friend and myself. We'll move now to public. Thank you very much. Public input. Members of the public may address the City Council on any matter within the City Council's jurisdiction that is not on the agenda. Comments are limited to 3 minutes per person with a maximum of 30 minutes per subject. Speaker cards are available in the foyer and are to be completed and given to the City Clerk before speaking. State law prohibits the City Council from discussing or taking action on any item which is not on the agenda. Do we have speaker cards?
Jack Kirk.
So I thank you for the opportunity to speak with you, the City Council and Mayor, Chief Westrick, and staff. On the behalf of the residents for drug-free San Bernardino County, I just wanted to say I appreciate your willingness to slow down the process on Ordinance 1131 and allow for public input. And I appreciate that Mayor Velasquez has been meeting with us regularly, our committee, and allowing us to have some input. It's interesting. It's been quite a interested group in this area. We have a Facebook page, and we figured out there's been over 14,000 views on our Facebook page, trying to get information about the ordinance, about the effect of the marijuana industry in our county that would come. So I appreciate that. We also would like to encourage the board to work with the county government and look for input, because whatever happens in the city should happen with our county also. But as we were looking at, as met as a group, one of the questions we'd like to ask you to consider as you're pondering your policy for the marijuana ordinance is, and I'll read it, I can read it better than I could probably remember to say it. Is your approach to this ordinance that of an attitude of accommodation by the City Council towards the marijuana industry through this current ordinance and proposed fee schedules, or is the desire of the City Council to protect the residents and businesses of Hollister from potential adverse impacts on the health, safety, and welfare from the secondary effects associated with cultivation, manufacturing, and dispensing of marijuana products within the city limits? So simply, does the City Council want to accommodate the marijuana industry and encourage them to come and expand their operations in Hollister, or does the City Council want to protect its citizens from the effects? So as you consider these, we also recognize that there's a small community in Hollister that uses medical marijuana, and that we need to accommodate their needs and their legal needs. We also recognize there's abuses to the system. Why we're against the cultivation of marijuana manufacturing products and dispensaries within the city limits, we do agree that this product should be available from outside dispensaries to those that are legally entitled to it. But that these dispensaries or the outside sources that are provided should be reviewed by our Chief of Police, Dave Westrick, in his office rather than the city manager. I think that we feel it would be more appropriate if that was added to the ordinance. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much.
Steve Becerra.
Thank you, Honorable Mayor, Honorable City Council. Jack took a little bit of my thunder today, but I've been present for almost all of the meetings regarding this ordinance, and it's crystal clear to me, and I think it should be crystal clear to you, that the majority of your constituents, the majority of the people that have voiced opposition in your districts, are against cultivation and dispensaries and manufacturing. It's clear. So it's been crystal clear to me, and it's been crystal clear to many people in this community. Those are the people that rent here, who own here, whose kids go to school here, who pay sales tax and contribute to this community. I also heard from people in this community that live here and own here and rent here who use marijuana compassionately through the medical marijuana card. And I think that's important. And I said it over many times before that I think the people that need medical marijuana need local access. I've heard Councilman Friend talk about his mother, or his wife, I'm sorry. My own sister, who died of leukemia, used medical marijuana to increase her appetite before she passed away. So it's important. With that, I would like to present to you actually today a copy of a ordinance from Emeryville, California. And what they've done is they've ordinanced out cultivation, manufacturing, and dispensaries within their jurisdiction, but have allowed delivery by dispensaries outside the county that are already legally operating to get a permit and to deliver medical marijuana to those in need within their county, because they don't want some of the things that come along. It's not some of the things that come along with these operations. All you have to do is Google some of the crimes that are happening in dispensaries in Oregon and Washington and Colorado and other places. And it doesn't happen everywhere, but it does happen, and it's important. And these people in Emeryville, I think, have the right. And I think that if you take a look at this is a perfect solution to those who have come to you and said, medical marijuana helps me. We need it. And we need access to it. We don't want to go to San Jose. We don't want to go to Santa Cruz. This is a perfect solution for you. Also addresses your CEQA issue. There's no issue with CEQA with something like this, just delivery only. And lastly, I see there's lots of students here. And quickly, I only have 15 seconds. This was in our the August 25th newspaper, and I'll just read it. And I'm not sure where it's targeting, but this is the kind of thing that we want to prevent. From the Canna Culture Collective, back to school special, 10% off with school ID, free T-shirt with pre-roll. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Dr. Kim Arrington.
Thank you. I've sent emails about this, and I just really want the community to hear what the American Academy of Pediatrics says about this. And I speak for children, and I speak passionately about them because I am a pediatric specialist, and we in Hollister care about our children. And I think we need to follow the direction that's given in the marijuana policy statement that was published by the American Academy of Pediatrics. And this policy statement was written by world-renowned physicians and scientists who thoughtfully considered published data on marijuana and decided what is best for our children. This is what the statement says. Marijuana can be harmful to adolescent health and development, making it more available to adults, even if restrictions are in place, will increase the access for teens. Just the campaigns to legalize marijuana can have the effect of persuading adolescents that marijuana is not dangerous, which can have a devastating impact on their lifelong health and development. For adolescents, marijuana can impair memory and concentration, interfere with learning, and is linked to lower odds of completing high school or obtaining a college degree. It can alter motor control, coordination, and judgment, which may contribute to unintentional deaths and injuries. Regular use is also linked to psychological problems, poor lung health, and a higher likelihood of drug dependence in adulthood. While cannabinoids may have potential as a therapy for a number of medical conditions, without FDA regulations, there are significant concerns regarding purity, dosing, and formulation, all of which are of heightened importance in children. So to summarize, the AAP opposes legalization of recreational marijuana and opposes medical marijuana outside the usual regulatory processes of the Food and Drug Administration. Recent published data from the National Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration confirm that making marijuana more available to adults leads to increased use among teens. In Colorado, there was a 20% increased use in marijuana among adolescents after recreational marijuana was legalized. Adolescents living in medical marijuana states were 30% more likely to use marijuana than adolescents living in non-medical marijuana states. Other startling statistics include, compared with teens who never use marijuana, those who were daily users before age 17 were 3 times less likely to graduate from high school, 3 times less likely to receive a university degree, 18 times more likely to become addicted to marijuana, 8 times more likely to use other illicit drugs, 7 times more likely to attempt suicide. Even though we all know that marijuana is available to our youth, we must not make it more accessible or, more importantly, give our youth the impression that marijuana is not dangerous. Please vote no on the current ordinance. We need to adopt an ordinance that does not allow growth, manufacture, or distribution of marijuana in Hollister. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chris Breen. She's not here. Gary Cameron.
Thank you for listening to me today. My name is Gary Cameron. I'm going to be talking quickly because of the 3-minute limitation, but I've been a resident of Hollister for 45 years, and I'd like to address the council tonight regarding the September 19th vote on the marijuana ordinance from the viewpoint of a law enforcement officer. I worked for the City Police Department in Chico, and I've worked for the Highway Patrol with a combined 33 years of law enforcement in my career and retired as a lieutenant. I've personally seen the death, injury, and physical and emotional pain caused to innocent victims by those who drive under the influence of drugs. We have over 3,000 traffic fatalities in California every year. The statistics indicate that 32% of all drivers killed in motor vehicle crashes in California who were tested positive for legal or illegal drugs. These statistics are sobering, but we should look at Colorado and Washington's experience to project what would happen if we in Hollister became a distribution hub for Gilroy, Morgan Hill, and other cities. I'll be quoting from a recent study entitled The Legalization of Marijuana in Colorado, The Impact. Marijuana-related traffic deaths increased 62% in Colorado after recreational marijuana was legalized in 2013. 77% of drivers under the influence of drug arrests involved marijuana, and 40% for marijuana only. 68% of Colorado local jurisdictions have now banned medical and recreational marijuana businesses. If so much tax money can be made and it's such a benefit to a local jurisdiction, why have 68% of Colorado jurisdictions opted out? Logic and past experience have shown that those who want drugs go to the location where they can be obtained the easiest. Can you imagine the dramatic impact this would have on Hollister and on our safety as drug users from Morgan Hill, Gilroy, and other cities drive to and from and through our city to obtain their drugs? Washington recently legalized recreational marijuana. Drivers with active THC in their blood involved in a fatal traffic accident increased 122.2%. There were 400% increase in marijuana-related DUI arrests. I have 2 questions. The present ordinance allows the city manager to approve dispensary applications. The city's police chief is one who will do the background investigations and enforcement, and I'm wondering if he would be a better one to make the approval on that. Should we ever consider passing the city ordinance that would contribute toward the problems Colorado and Washington are experiencing? I hope the answer to that is no. The California Association of Highway Patrolmen, the California Police Chiefs Association, the LA Police Protective League, the LA Sheriffs, Oakland PD, the fire chiefs are opposed to adult use of marijuana. We can avoid the impact that Colorado and Washington are now experiencing. We don't need that type of influence in Hollister. Please, for you have been placed in a position of public trust, make your highest priority the safety and well-being of the citizens of Hollister. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Stephanie Smith.
Thank you, everyone. So it's been suggested that by legalizing marijuana cultivation in Hollister that this will solve the problem of illegal grow operations because the legal growers will police the illegal growers and turn them in. We believe this is a fallacy, and there is absolutely no proof that we have seen that this would work. In fact, we found many points to the contrary. First of all, they technically serve different markets, over 21 and under 21. Adding to the complexity of asking a business serving one market to police a business serving another market, the illegal market actually helps out the legal market because it creates a consistent and steady stream of customers for the legal market as its ever-growing base of underage addicts eventually age into the legal market. Therefore, it would be in the legal growers' best interest to turn a blind eye to illegal growers, not to police them. Further, even now, legal dispensaries purchase from co-ops that supposedly grow for their members, but then sell their product illegally to dispensaries for sale to the public. And should legal growers in Hollister sell out of their supply, they could acquire and sell more product from an illegal grower under the guise of it being legal. Legal growers also may benefit from regular brokering of product from illegal grow sites. So you see, we absolutely cannot rely on legal growers to police illegal growers. Name an industry where a certified and legal producer is expected to police and protect consumers and other members of society from illegal producers. Doesn't exist. Police already lack adequate resources to close the illegal grow operations you can smell across town or stop the grow odor nuisances that they create. The Water Board doesn't have the authority to police the excessive water use that the plants pull from our already limited water resources, while lawns must go unwatered, shared wells run dry, and farmers pay large sums of money to bring water all the way across the state just to water the food crops that everyone benefits from. Legalizing grow operations here in Hollister will make it easier for the black market to prosper behind the scenes in partnership or in parallel with, while hiding behind legal operations. In Colorado today, still a reported 40% of the weed sold is from the black market. Hollister is a community that doesn't want to become the next crime-infused Humboldt. We have better, classier opportunities ahead of us with safer, more family-friendly environments. Further, since Hollister already cannot afford to police existing illegal grows, it's very clear that we lack the infrastructure to manage, regulate, and police an expansion of this industry here. First, we need to focus on closing down all of the illegal growing operations that are negatively impacting our community. Only when we have efficiently shut down the existing legal grow sites in our area, which we have not, will we even be able to start to assess the cost of allowing legal growing operations and policing illegal growing operations. So in sum, it's clear that legal grow operations will not police illegal grow operations, and instead legal grow operations will drive continued business for the illegal black market and its grow operations. Therefore, we cannot really afford as a community to legalize cultivation in Hollister or San Bernardino County.
Thank you very much.
Peter Hernandez.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, City Council. Thank you for allowing me to speak my 3 minutes. So I just wanted to kind of summarize some of the things that I've noticed in the ordinance with the Gilroy ordinance and the Morgan Hill ordinance. And the consistencies are that they all reference basically the 1996 Compassionate Use Act, with marijuana, what is it called? Marijuana manufacture program, the marijuana program basically, and also the federal law that basically bans. They're all basically focused around medical marijuana, is my point. And they ultimately just reference this because they understand that right now from 1996 to on, they've allowed and protected medical use. That being said, in October 9, 2015, Jerry Brown signed the Medical Marijuana Registration and Safety Act, and the purpose of that was basically to further tighten regulations, right? And when it comes down to medical. The thing with that is it actually allows provisions in that law to protect the local governments. One, it allows local governments to enact ordinances that prohibit a conditional permit program. Two, it expressly provides the act not supersede or limit local authority. Three, it doesn't limit local policing or remedies needed. And it does require that a local government that wishes to prevent delivery as defined in Business and Professions Code to enact an ordinance effectively banning the delivery activity. So the consistency in this is basically it's taken from a stance of defense. It's saying it's from a vantage point of safety, risk, and its consequences. So I would definitely encourage you, please, that when you consider this ordinance, that you start with considering what's most important, and that's the safety and security of our residents, and then walk it backwards to making sure that you do open up, that you protect that door for those that either need a conditional permit or whatever it is to protect the citizens. But ultimately, this ordinance that's in place right now will do nothing to protect our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Rob Bernowski.
I brought you guys some treats. Mr. Mayor, City Council members, thank you for allowing me to speak. I did bring you some treats here. I brought you some brownies and I brought you some water, much like students might bring to school. I'm here because I care about our education systems here in San Benito County. Having been a chaperone at many high school and many middle school dances, being married to a school administrator, and otherwise being involved in the education system, I can tell you that the argument that I hear frequently is there is no difference between alcohol and pot. Well, I'm here to tell you that if you're concerned about the education system, which in this county is doing very poorly, especially the Hollister School District, what causes learning not to occur is distractions. So my point with this little demo I have here is the difference between alcohol and other drugs like marijuana is alcohol can be adjudicated very quickly. If you're a chaperone at a dance and you think a child or student is drinking, a volunteer such as myself can open up the bottle. We have the right. We can smell. And I can tell you, one of those two bottles has vodka in it. Very cheap vodka, I might add, but nevertheless it has vodka. The other has water. And a parent, volunteer, or an administrator can instantly smell that alcohol, and the kid can be exited from the dance right away, or at the high school if the police are called in, and it's just dealt with. And there's no doubt about it. The alcohol is indisputable, and it gets, again, adjudicated very quickly. These brownies here, one batch is made with canola oil, the other is just made with regular vegetable oil. That comes onto a school campus. Who here can tell the difference? And if you think that you can, I invite you, any one of you, to invite any of these kids to come up and sample the brownies. You take the risk of, does it have marijuana in it or not? Am I telling the truth or not? And I'm going to tell you, you cannot. So if you're a school administrator and you say, well, this obviously has marijuana in it, there is no obvious thing. There's no litmus test like there is with alcohol. You smell alcohol, you know it, the police know what to do with it, and Judge Sanders or Judge Tobias knows what to do with it. And that's what the problem is. We can't embrace the marijuana industry and just think, well, all the problems are going to be taken care of. Another example, Sunday night, we had 2 of our plate glass windows blown out. We thought there was gunfire coming into our house. I'm very serious. I'm not making this up. The sheriff's deputies come in. They said, do you know who did it? And we said, no. And they said, look, we got to go on another call then. See you later. You're on your own. They don't even have time to take a police report when I have several $100s of damage. And we thought we were being shot at. Seriously. But they don't have time to take a report. We had to do the policing ourselves. Are you guys ready to do that? Is this city? I don't think so.
Thank you, Ms. Bronski.
Brent Hawks. He's not here either. Adriana Tripp.
Huh?
Hi, good evening. My name is Adriana Tripp, and I am here tonight. Not sure if this is the right stepping stone. But what I'd like to do is put up a little free pantry in my local neighborhood, which is the Frank Clower Memorial Park. And basically what it is I guess I have to be put on the agenda for the next meeting so you can vote on that. But I'd like to put up a pantry where I could put in school supplies or art supplies, maybe some canned food items, so that our neighbors could be helping other neighbors. That's about it. So I don't know if this is the right platform for it, but that's definitely something that I would like to put out to our community. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
And I have a picture too, if you guys would like to take a look.
Please. Yeah.
I'm totally for it. Let's just not put any brownies in it.
Oh no.
Or water.
Nothing
or water.
perishable.
Or Rob's water.
Rob's water. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
J.W. Payne.
I had one of his brownies that My name is James Payne. I'm going to go ahead and pass this around. That picture is my sister, who is 2 years older than me. Started on pot, went on meth. Sorry, that's my elder.
Bet she appreciates you saying about starting on.
Well, you know, I'm glad you said that because it's not a joking matter. She's actually homeless now, so she doesn't have a cell phone because of the drugs that she started on with pot. And it went into crack, then meth. And took me 3 months to find her, and I was standing right next to her, tired, thinking I'm never going to find her. And I heard a voice, and it was this homeless lady. And I just started crying because that was my sister, which I haven't seen for a while. And there she was, handing out the drugs when some punk was taking the money. Then, I want to thank you for this. I'm sorry I didn't read this in the newspaper, but that upsets me. I mean, it's supposed to be for 21-year-olds, but they're still pushing, the article he just said over here, back to school sale. That just really irritates me on that. So I am going to do some more research on this. I'm going to try to figure out, I really don't want it in our downtown. But on another note, I also was egged at my house. An officer came over, and I love those cards you guys have. And I just want to say kudos on, I just found out that the police department in Hollister is the only one in the state it's doing that, and I just think that's kudos for our chief. So I just want to give 1 minute on that.
Thank you. In the nation, actually.
The nation, I apologize. I will give you a brownie.
Would you let a guy give away 5 brownies?
Marty Richmond.
Good evening again, Marty Richmond from Hollister. Now, unfortunately, I know you've heard a lot about it, but I've got some of the same subject. And you've read my article, hopefully, in the paper. I don't understand why we would be taking any action before the election. Doesn't make any sense to me. The election is just around the corner, November the 8th. The canvass has to be done within 30 days. It's always done here within 30 days. We will know exactly what the people in the city of Hollister think about marijuana. And people are going to say, well, that's recreational marijuana. Well, guess what? The Proposition 64 and medical marijuana are linked in Proposition 64. And they are also linked in your proposal for a local ordinance. They are linked in Proposition 64 is that if the medical marijuana comes in, the tax on if recreational marijuana comes in, the tax on medical marijuana will go away. So any money you thought you were going to get in taxes out of medical marijuana, you will get nothing. Second thing is, your own proposed ordinance says that it's designed to be used when necessary to facilitate recreational marijuana, which can change itself from selling medical marijuana to recreational marijuana. And we didn't even say but provided you keep selling medical marijuana. In other words, somebody can say, I'm out of the medical marijuana business. I'm in the recreational marijuana business where there's less regulation and a lot more money. And now you've okayed a location, and it'll be very easy for those people who have an advantage over everybody else to say, I'm not selling medical marijuana anymore, because if I do, I got to put all these regulations in effect. Finally, with Measure W on the ballot, we don't even know how many policemen we will have to effectively police anything. We have no idea. We haven't seen the vote. We don't know how many code enforcement officers we will have. My understanding is we're authorized, thanks to the mayor filling me in, we're authorized 2. We have 1. If Measure W doesn't pass, where are you going to find the resources to police this industry? You saw what happened in Los Angeles. Before recreational marijuana was in, they had over 700 illegal dispensaries there. They managed to close 500. They've still got hundreds more illegal dispensaries to go. And as soon as they close one on one corner, one pops up on the other. And the reason is money. People will do anything for money. And we're sucker bait because we don't have enough money, and we don't have enough police, and we don't have enough code enforcement officers to police this. So I'm concerned about our ability to make it happen. I hope you'll delay your decision until you see the November 8th ballot results. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much.
There's no more speakers, Mr. Mayor.
There's no more speakers. I was going to, well, why don't we go ahead with the city manager's report, then we'll take a 5-minute break. I was going to break for the kids, but they all ran out.
This group can tell time.
All right, these are the A students right here. We're going to take a 5-minute break after this.
Yeah, I really don't. I don't have much to report other than if it's the council's desire, I can put something on the agenda for that community pantry at Clower Park, if that's something that the council would want to consider us trying to move forward. So I see some nodding of heads, so we'll put something together. You'll see that next meeting. Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We'll go ahead and take a 5-minute break.
I'm concerned about the brownies.
Don't let them have the brownies, please. F51.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. This is one of those cleanup things. Throughout the years, we've had different policies internally created. I don't know who, where, or what, about hanging banners on San Benito Street. At one point in time, the city just did it. At another point in time, anybody but the city did it. Another point in time, the city did it if they paid for it, but the fee was never set by council. So this is an opportunity for you folks to make a decision and codify what you would like done. So this item would set a $150 fee for hanging somebody's banner up over San Benito Street. That's about what it costs the city to do that work. Go get the truck, wear and tear on the truck, set up traffic control, go out there, hang up the banner, put everything away, and then come out and do it all again in a couple weeks when the banner needs to come down. It also would institute a CPI increase so the $150 would keep up with inflation as time goes on. So, like I said, this is your chance to tell us what you would like to do.
Okay, is there any comments, questions? Council?
Yes, I have a question. This is only regarding the banner over San Benito Street, right?
That is correct.
So it's not the smaller banners there in the corner of San Benito and Fort?
No, ma'am. Only the one that we have to get the aerial truck out to do.
Okay, because I know I've been asked several times as to how people can get their banners at that location. And I believe they call it city clerk?
Yes, it needs to be, you need to be a 501c3, so a nonprofit organization. Also, there at one point in time, there used to be a company that would hang the banners for people. They would also charge, and I don't know what their charge was, but that company has since gone out of business. So now people are struggling to find someone to put the banners up, and they're asking us if we will do it. They're willing to pay. They want to pay. They don't, there's no one in town to do this for them, so a lot of them can't do it. And as we looked more at it, it just seems safer for our public works to do it just consistently and make sure that there's safety there on that intersection while the signs are being hung. So
okay, so you're talking about the banner over San Benito Street.
that is correct.
Right.
Yes, not the 400 block, but the 400 block is the same. It's also a nonprofit 501c3 to get on.
And they
that.
would just contact your office.
They would contact the city clerk's
be on
office.
A waiting list or something.
Usually in January is when most requests come in for the year.
Is there a document or something that we can give people?
There's applications.
There's
yes.
an application.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yes.
That was my question.
Thank you.
Okay. Are there any other questions for council? Any speaker cards?
Mr. Mayor?
I'll make a motion that we approve resolution F51.
The motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion is second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion carries.
Thank you.
Move to item, I'm sorry?
It's resolution 134.
Okay. Move to item 52, F52.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the City Council. Good evening.
Sorry.
That's okay. Thank you, Christine. We can start. It's thank you. The City of Hollister received a request to initiate a general plan amendment of approximately 4.82 acres. Thank you, Christine. From an 8.2 acre site known as the Thorning property. The general plan amendment request consists of amending the approximately 4.82 acre property identified in the screen and also in your transmittal, outlined in red. From West Gateway, which allows 20 to 35 dwelling units per acre, to medium density residential, which allows 8 to 12 dwelling units per acre. As you can see in the screen, the site is located south of 4th Street, north of Jan Avenue, west of Westside Boulevard, and east of Spring Drive. It's east of Rakovich Way. A developer is interested in potentially building multifamily residential units on the front, approximately 3.38 acres of the 8.2 acre site along 4th Street, with a density of approximately 20 dwelling units per net acre And also, the developer is interested in building smaller lot, single-family homes on the adjacent 4.82 acre site towards Stan Avenue with a density of about 11 dwelling units per net acre, which is why the applicant is requesting the general plan amendment from West Gateway to medium density residential on the rear lot. So the front part, the front 3.38 acre site, is still consistent with the vision of the general plan for the higher density. The rear is just what the rear 4.82 acre is what is being requested to be amended with this request.
Further, the vision along 4th Street will remain shown as West Gateway, which will conform to the general plan. However, the parcel in the back, which is circled in red in the screen, would require a general plan amendment that would change it from West Gateway to medium density residential, since the proposed density would be approximately 11 dwelling units per net acre instead of the minimum 20 dwelling units that are required in the West Gateway zone. The slide in the screen also shows the view of the existing general plan zoning designations within the vicinity of that APN, and it also helps illustrate how a general plan amendment would not change. By changing it to medium density, it will still be in perspective within the existing neighborhood component of that area. Pending your decision tonight to initiate the general plan amendment of this parcel, staff will then process the general plan amendment application, prepare an environmental report pursuant to the California Environmental Quality Act to evaluate the project site, and schedule a public hearing with the City of Hollister Planning Commission and the City Council. Per Ordinance 17.24.290 of the Hollister Municipal Code, council initiation of a general plan amendment shall require 4 affirmative votes of council tonight. With this, staff recommends that the City Council adopt Resolution 2016-136 that would authorize the initiation of the general plan amendment from West Gateway to medium density residential. Any questions?
Any questions from council? Councilmember Luna?
Yeah, I'm looking at the map that I have here in front of me, the one you had before that. So where I see West Side Boulevard, and there's a few spaces there. Is that the current buildings that are there, like the clinic?
Yes.
What about the store next to it?
The store, Councilmember Luna, is actually on this site.
It's on this property?
Yeah, that's the store where they sell. It's like a small market.
So that would go away, or what?
Yeah, more than likely, if they, I mean, it's zoned West Gateway, which is a mixed use of commercial and residential, but based on what the conceptual plan that we saw, it looks like they will focus on residential only in the front. So if that's the case, it would go away. However, if they somehow try to keep the market and maybe renovate it, it would be conforming. But the preliminary view of the conceptual plan shows that it would just be multifamily and the commercial component that would go away.
So the older house that is there behind the clinic, would that remain there, that property?
Behind the clinic? So the clinic is right next door to the east. And so that's a different parcel altogether.
It's a different parcel.
That's correct. Yes.
So that will not be touched.
Correct. Not with this project. That's correct.
Okay. Thank you.
Councilmember Clower.
How do they plan on getting to the 20 units per acre?
That's a good question, Councilmember Clower. It's just one of the things that we discussed when we met with them. They indicated that it's a challenge to try to get to that density. But one of the things is that one of the aspects that will help them is that it's 20 dwelling units per net acre. So once you calculate the open space required, parking, and the roads, the net acreage will bring them to that 20 dwelling units per acre to be in conformance per net acre. And that's how it will pencil out for them. And then the overall project for them to make sense for the actual development indicated that the back part, or the 4.82 acres in the back, that they would require more of a single family component to it. Smaller lots, not the standard 5,500 square foot lots, but more like the 3,500, 3,000 square foot lots.
Is there any plan to actually move forward with a project on the portion of the site that's going to stay West Gateway?
That's correct. When we met with them, they've indicated that they would like to move forward with both parcels. They're owned by the same property owner at this time, but for it to pencil out, they would want to try to maintain that density in the front and then allow for a smaller density towards the back, which is why we're here asking if the council would be okay with the amendment.
Do they plan on bringing those projects together as one piece?
Per our preliminary meetings with them, yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from council? So there would be no commercial space? Am I clear?
On the front, it would remain West Gateway, which allows for commercial, but our preliminary meetings with them just show residential at this time.
So basically, we're losing commercial space.
And the front staying as is. We're not requesting a general plan amendment in the front. In the back, we are, and in the back, it is still West Gateway. And yeah, if it's just residential, there would be no. There could be a possibility for a small commercial space with the conditional use permit, but that was not the intent that we got from the potential developer. The potential developer is looking for multifamily in the front and smaller lots, single family in the back, with no commercial at this time, based on our meetings with them.
And there's no way to ensure that the entire project will be built out. In other words, he can build around the red part and say, I've changed my mind on the other part, and I'll sell that off some other time.
So that's correct. If they come in, they can potentially just focus on one of the parcels. That's correct, Mr. Mayor. But they did indicate their interest in building out both parcels.
Another option could be you can enter into a DA or another sort of performance agreement that would require them, at what X number of units in the back that they begin or pull a building permit for one of the multifamily structures that would be on the northern 3.8 acres. The city council can do that.
That's correct.
I mean, if you wanted to make sure that both projects went simultaneously or close to it, or tied to
that
together.
It's actually going to happen.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we're going to have another project where something
that.
didn't happen and it's going to sit there for years. And I'm concerned, again, we're talking about retail, and yet all we're approving is residential.
Well, and this is one of the things, sorry if I'm stealing their thunder here. The West Gateway was sort of planned to be that area created in town that you had an option, and maybe a councilman friend can shed some light on this as well. First in sort of got to determine what was going to actually work. So what happens is that the West Gateway, there's contemplation for both number of units and square feet of retail. So for instance, if the first 4 projects are coming in and strictly residential, you can then begin to rezone those properties that are sort of that mixed use and just make them strictly commercial, so that you're not going to lose that piece of property's commercial component. You then sort of gear it. Likewise, the flip would happen. If somehow commercial was the greatest thing since sliced bread over there, and you started to have people just doing commercial, but you need that residential to help support those, then you would take away the commercial component and just zone properties, the remaining properties, as residential. That was always sort of the key point, is that there's a certain number of units that are contemplated in that particular zone, and there's also a certain number of square footage of retail contemplated in the general plan, and that's what you're shooting for.
But there was a real strong emphasis on 4th Street to be commercial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and
to lose that part of it is why it takes an amendment, because when we did the general plan, we wanted the gateway to be commercial.
Mm-hmm. And I want to make sure that we reiterate this. The developer, staff, the proposal, we are not recommending any change to the general plan on the northern 3.82 acres adjacent to 4th Street. That is going to remain that mixed use designation. It's only going towards the back, or the southern portion of the property.
That's correct.
The 4.82.
That's correct.
I guess I have concerns again. We're talking about more residential. We're looking at smaller lots. We have this problem on the west side of town. Let's build all the affordables on the west side of town. And this is the path to that again. We're doing it again, and we're making an exception. I would think most likely, more likely than not, they're going to build the back part of it, and that front's going to stay the way it is for a while. I think we have to step back and figure out what we're trying to accomplish so that developers know ahead of time what it is we're looking for, and they're clear about it. Does it, as I always point out, does it have a homeowners association to this? Who's going to maintain it in 5-10 years when the cars are up on the lawns and same problems because there's not enough parking? Who's taking care of that problem? It's going to be us again. And we have to get to the point of being ahead of this rather than, oops, well, we should have taken care of that next time. If the developers don't know what we're clear about, how can we be? The community needs us to kind of make sure we're planning this out correctly and enforcing it, or change the whole idea of what we're trying to do.
Again, I don't think we're trying to change what they're trying to do. We're just changing it.
You hear what I'm saying? No. Councilor Flower?
Well, I think the depth makes sense of where the line's been drawn, because when you look at the existing single family, it's already that far north. Are they looking at putting, is it going to be rental housing or is it going to be for sale on that northern piece?
At this time, they just indicated it would be multifamily. They're trying to pencil out to see if it's going to be maybe townhomes for sale or rental. But at this time, they just want to see if they can move forward with their concept of being that it would be multifamily in the front. But in order for it to pencil out, they would require for single family, smaller lots in the back. But whether it would be rental or owner occupied, that they haven't been clear on. That's what they're going to be working on.
Okay, because I tend to agree that I think what will happen is the southern piece will get built out with single family, and then the northern piece will remain vacant for who knows how long. But I'm also not going to throw out there that, I mean, we also do need multifamily. So if we can get that or commercial, I think we're taking a step forward because we need both of those things. And I'm just afraid that neither of them will get built.
Councilmember Frank?
Well, I just wanted to we're not changing the zoning on the front, so they're not going to put apartments out there on the front part. They're the northern section. It's just the southern section that they want to do the single-family homes on, small.
Which would require the general plan amendments on the southern part. So the front part will not change.
Microphone.
The front part will not change. It's going to remain the same, which allows, like Bill mentioned, for mixed use, either both commercial and residential, or either commercial or residential. And our preliminary meetings with them, they've indicated that they would want more of the multifamily residential in the northern part along 4th Street. Yes.
I guess what I'm pointing out is here's an opportunity to make sure we get the whole project built out. What we're going to do is divide it up, and they're not going to build it all out. That's my point. So what are we trying to accomplish here? Because I guarantee you, I'm sure what's going to happen, they're going to build the other part with small lots. In 5-10 years, we're going to be asking the question, why did we approve this with the other space still empty, full of weeds?
And that's a good point, Mayor Velasquez. But like Bill mentioned as well, one of the ways that we can attack that or respond to that would be maybe through like a development agreement, which requires that if they do move forward with this project, they should move forward with it at a given time.
Why not have them present a plan of the whole project up front so we can talk about how great it is instead?
They can as well. This would be just the first step, which would require for the general plan amendments. But
this is a very small step in the big picture. You have a couple of cracks at this all the way along. This is just whether or not they want. What the developer would like to know is that if the city council at all would consider going down this path, and if you are, then they have to actually go through the general plan amendment process. So, and yeah, I mean, if you want to make sure that they do something, a development agreement is essentially the best way to go about that.
Thank you. Do we have any speaker cards?
No, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
Motion to approve Resolution 2016-136.
There's a motion. Is there a second? There's a motion, a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Against?
No.
No. 2 noes, Councilmember Friend and myself. Move forward to item 61. Reports from city council members regarding their committees. Councilmember Luna.
I do not have any ad hoc committee meetings.
All right. Councilmember Friend.
I did have 2, and one of them was the San Benito County Fire Protection Advisory Committee, and we had a report out from the chief on the update of the station, Station 4, on career development and equipment status. We're in the process of ordering 2 new Type 1 fire trucks.
Ray, can you speak in the microphone?
We're in the process of ordering 2 new Type 1 fire trucks. We have received the new water tender. They gave us a demonstration of that. It's pretty impressive. It's going through the process right now, being outfitted and training. And that will be stationed out at Station 4 whenever that gets built. The chief also reported out we had 325 calls between August 1 and September 1. So they were very busy. And that was about it on the fire committee. And the second committee I had was the San Benito County Intergovernmental Committee. Got back together this week. We had a pretty good agenda. We talked about impact fees, library impact fees, community facilities districts. We talked about the problem with the homeless people at Garden Mart. We talked at length about the bylaws and who was going to be in the structure of the committee. We got a report on the results of Measure P, which was, we all know what the results of Measure P was. We did not get a library needs assessment. No, they did not have that back yet. And in the future, we're going to talk about having more input from the school districts. That's about it.
Okay. Vice Mayor Gomez?
Nope.
Councilmember Clower?
Nothing to report.
I have nothing to report. Councilmember Friend covered that. The 2 committees that I was on. We can move forward on informational reports from City Council. Councilmember Luna?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I wanted to report that on Friday, August the 26th, I attended the LULAC Women's Reception for Scholarship Fundraiser at Payne's. It was standing room only. It was a great event. So I'm sure they raised money for their scholarships. And then on Monday the 29th, I attended the Gavilan College Open House with Dr. Kathleen Rose. Very interesting to see so many students actually attending the Hollister site. So it's very, very interesting. I also attended the First Responders Dinner on August 23rd. Unfortunately, half of our responders left because they went out on a call. It was a very nice gathering with people that came out to support. I held a meeting here at City Hall for District 2, and it was well attended, but like 33 people came. It was interesting to hear from the people as to their concerns, and so I thank the staff that came out to support the meeting. Mary Paxton, Mike Chambliss, Bill Rivera, Brian, thank you for being there, Paul De Silva, and of course Bill. It was quite a discussion we had with some of the people that came. I'm glad that we were able to achieve that because it was, I think it gives you, it allows people to come here and sit with you and talk to you about, the district that you actually represent. And I'm sure that there were some people here that were not from our district. That was fine. I also want to thank Mike Chambliss and the park staff for setting up the picnic tables at the Tony Aguirre Park. He texted me that they were in, and that afternoon I was in the area, so I went by, and families were already sitting at that table, and the children. So I did take a couple of pictures of the children. So, and I do want to announce that thanks to the sponsorship of the City of Hollister, tomorrow there is a conference for male students at San Benito High School. And actually they have brought in a keynote speaker, Robert Renteria, from Chicago, Illinois. Brian, you might know him. He's a motivational, I'm still wondering how the heck they got him to Hollister. But he's a motivational speaker that his book is called From the Barrio to the Boardroom. East LA kid, grew up, but he decided to make a decision in his life, and he joined the Army and came out, and he has his own business. He serves on several boards in the Chicago area. But anyway, he's here, and thanks to the city for helping that. And Mayor, you were there when those young men came up to you and myself at that leadership conference, and the young men said, you guys always concentrate on the girls. What about us? And that's how it began. So I'm sure that if you can, please attend. It starts at 11 o'clock in the cafeteria at the high school. So, and also, I just want to mention something. Sometimes in Hollister, we feel like, gee, we're just a small little town that doesn't attract anybody, that people don't come here. Like we feel we should invite other people to come and see our city. I'm sure in the news, so many of you saw that Juan Gabriel passed away, the icon entertainer in Mexico. He wasn't just an icon entertainer in Mexico, but throughout the world. And I remember it so vividly that on June the 17th, 1984, he came to the Hollister Veterans Memorial Building. And it was like 900 people that attended from throughout. Come to find out the other day, the former station owner of KMPG called me to remind me that had happened in Hollister. And apparently the way the presentation went is that Paredes Enterprises out of San Jose actually gave a presentation to Juan Gabriel and gave him a choice of cities in the Central Coast. Nobody knows why he chose Hollister. And so, that little piece of memory came back, and I'm sure that hopefully, it will be in the news as well, because it didn't put Hollister in the map. But at that time, now, you think back of all those memories and everything this man created throughout the world. He left a little piece in Hollister. So I just wanted to mention that.
Thank you.
Well, I did have something, but Mickey already mentioned it. I wanted to announce that we did have the appreciation dinner for the first responders, and we gave out plaques to the police, fire, Sheriff's Department, AMR, Highway Patrol, CDF. And it was a great dinner, and like Mickey said, we just served, and an alarm went off, and half the fire department got up and ran out the building. But we did take all the leftovers down to the firehouse, and I'm sure they ate well that night. There was a fire out on Fairview. The other thing I wanted to mention, and I forgot to mention it during the committees because I'm not on the committee, but we had our first meeting of the full Parks and Recs Commission. We did the swearing in of 4 new members on the 31st of August, and now we have a full 5-member Parks and Recs Commission that are working through the districts like we want. So congratulations to all those people, and thank you for volunteering. That's it.
Vice Mayor Gomez?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I remember that concert, Mickey. I'm kidding, I don't remember that.
You weren't even born then.
Maybe it was my mom talking about it. I don't know. I'd like to put in a quick request to city manager, and hopefully we have 2 other nods up here. But I'd like to. It seems like a lot of folks are hung up with the with Prop 64 and the adult use proposition that's on the ballot for November 8th. So my recommendation is going to be to defer next week's, the item coming in 2 weeks, the medical marijuana vote to be deferred to a special meeting of November 14th. If that's not possible, to be agendized for the meeting of November 21st after the election. I think most recent polling came back that it's polling at 63% in favor. So if that is the case, I'm sure everybody here is going to be 100% behind it now and will vote in favor of it on November 14th. I'm kidding. I highly doubt that. And with that said, go Dodgers.
And with that said, wait a minute. That was a motion that was made on the council. It will be on the agenda for the next meeting.
Yeah, and I'll ask for it to be deferred then.
He's asking for.
And waiting till November is. What's that going to change? Is that going to change anybody's mind if it passes? I doubt it.
Hang on.
That's stupid.
All right.
Just deal with it.
Councilmember Flower?
Yes. I just kind of want to give everybody a heads up that I'll be meeting in the next few days with administration from the Hollister School District about pursuing a joint use facility at Ladd Lane. It's very, very early on in the process, but just kind of want to start priming the pump for that if somehow I pull off a Hail Mary. That'll be probably take a couple months, I imagine, to even get an idea, but that's something that I'm working on. I'm also going to continue meeting with the high school district superintendent Perales, as well as their attorneys and the county's attorneys and development services department about the bypass around the high school and what that's going to look like in terms of an agreement on closing Nash Road temporarily during the school day. I would think that we should have some language in front of us in November on that. So a couple more months, but that'll be coming back around. I also have an opening for District 3 Planning Commissioner. So if there's anybody out there in TV land who's interested in having that position, please contact the city clerk, and we'll get you set up with an application, and hopefully we'll make that decision as soon as I get a couple good people to talk to. And then I'd also like to request that I be removed off the ad hoc committee for medical marijuana, whether that's at the next meeting or as soon as possible. Thanks.
Okay, so if we can, thank you, Councilmember. If we could put that on to the,
it's an ad hoc meeting, you can make.
Just so we don't go through it, if you can put it on the agenda for the next meeting, we'll deal with that. Also, I've asked the city attorney, we can find another firm to represent the city for the cannabis issue, so we have don't have the perceived conflict of interest. I know there has not been, and I appreciate all the work you've done. But if we could,
I have a determination from both the FPPC and a private firm, but I'd be happy to do that.
Okay.
That it's not a conflict of interest.
Okay, perfect. Thank you very much. I'd like to. I want to say tomorrow I'm actually going to go with a group to go look at a few different cannabis facilities, both group for it and against it, so we can go find out, get all the information we can get from the people involved in San Jose. We're going to be meeting with 2 different dispensaries, the sergeant of the San Jose Police Department in charge of the cannabis industry in that city, a council member, and another person that's going to meet us out there. I'm not sure. I didn't get the name this time, but I'm bringing a group of about 7 or 8 people to meet out there, have a discussion, just tour, and hopefully bring back some more information. I would like to hopefully have more time to the next meeting to do a cost-benefit analysis on this industry so we have a better understanding of the industry as a whole and more time to work towards some of the questions that came up in the past of the CEQA, banking, law enforcement, but we can discuss those issues at the next meeting. So I just want to thank everybody for taking the time to work with us on some of those issues. City Manager?
I have nothing.
City Attorney?
I have nothing.
Chief?
Nothing.
Interesting night tonight.
I have nothing.
Well, if that's the way it's going to be.
Move for adjournment.
There's a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Motion second. All in favor? All right. Motion carries. Thank you very much.
Who made the
everyone.
motion? You did.
Did you eat some of those brownies?